The online art community is considered widely progressive. Most people within the online art community tend to, lay on the spectrum of some LGBT and often are also POC. The social standard within our community tends to be that everyone is relatively conscious of basic human rights. It's rare to ever find a creator that tends to have more conservative values. And if they are given a lot of backlash for it. Centralism tends to be not ostracized, but that's kind of as far as values are really allowed to lean to the right side. Right as in political leaning, not that it's right. It's not right. This isn't a bad thing in my opinion. I think criticizing the ethically dubious is good. Surprising, yeah. And those of you that are convinced me saying this is merely black and white conjecture and are convinced systematic racism doesn't exist, or that gay people shouldn't be able to get married, or trans or women aren't allowed to change their body in any way, you are certainly far away from home, friend. I'm not sure you're gonna like any of my videos if we're having that issue here. Despite this acceptance within our community, there's a quiet issue people aren't fully aware of: misogyny. Now, the way it's expressed is innately subconscious, but exists nonetheless. And I want to explore that today, to identify it within myself and talk about how we can overcome that. I'm Salwa Black Sheep. Have you any soul? No, sir. No, sir. But today, I have an interesting perspective on the misogyny issue within our community. I'd like to take a moment to tell you guys about the new Patreon updates. There will be a weekly Patreon-only art stream on Discord where y'all get to tell me what to draw. The Hobbits of Ironclad tier get to watch the stream and request doodles of whatever they want. That can be your OC, a meme, or whatever. I'll doodle it on stream. The Citizens of Decim Deimos and the Alkaviri Heathen tiers get to participate in the stream talking to me and get more detailed sketches, which I'll draw on the stream. Again, it can be whatever you want, OC, whatever. So if that sounds fun to you, come and join us. Happens once a week, and once we have enough people, we can vote on what time works best, but I'll just be doing it Saturday evening or Sunday evening. Link to my Patreon is down in the description. Anyways, back to the video. Now, some of you might be taken aback by this claim that the art community struggles with a misogynistic flair. It may even sound snowflakey, but I've noticed it's something even I'm a part of to some degree, and it might also be you, without even realizing it. I don't think people should feel bad or ashamed, considering it makes sense why most of us are this way with the world we grew up in. When I say our community struggles with misogyny, it isn't outright at all for the most part. Most people within the community would see themselves as quite the opposite, but it often falls flat in people's art. I've noticed a trend among all ages and artists within the art community tend to focus quite heavily on their male characters, and when it comes to consuming media, will also almost exclusively focus on the male characters. Nothing wrong with that, but there is when you start seeing how people interact with female characters, be them in their own writing or those of others, being compressed into a trope rather than an actual person. The Victor and Mel complex. Now, this is just the most popular as of right now, the new iteration of this dilemma, but it displays the issue nonetheless. Victor and Mel are from the animated series Arcane, a brilliant show with amazing writing, animation, and art. Victor is an inventor and a scientist with a physical disability. In the show, Victor is antisocial and focuses a lot on his work, and he doesn't much have a love interest. Kind of written to be like Arrow Ace. He just seems ace, okay? That's just headcanon, you know? Either way, Victor's main and most important connection is to Jace, a starry-eyed inventor with charisma and passion. They are incredibly close, and they work together to make revolutionary technology that changes the world around them. Mel is a High Council member. She is in the seat of the highest power within the city-state, that is Piltover. She is cunning and compassionate. She grew up in a culture that greatly values violence and domination. She didn't like this way of leadership, so she left. As a leader, she is manipulative, but does not use her power to wield it over others maliciously, rather to help stabilize the country she holds power in. She has a romantic relationship with Jace. It is shown in canon. However, most people ship Victor and Jace and ignore the canon ship, despite the relationship between Jace and Mel being pretty well written. I mean, I don't care for it, but I don't really care for anything, so whatever. Don't get me wrong. I get why people ship Jace and Victor. There definitely is some crazy tension going on. Their relationship by the end of the show, honestly, is like deeper than romance. Like any normal romance, like it's like 10 million steps above. Like it's ascended past the mortal plane. Like, which is why, like, yeah, of course you'd ship that. But that's like neither here nor there. The issue here is how the fandom interacted with Mel. Many people went on and on about how she's some evil dictator that uses her power over Jace in some way, like she was grooming him, and then framing Victor as some small little wholesome being that needs protection. Mel is not morally perfect, no, not at all, but no one is in the show. Jace got a child killed. Like, you see that kid die on screen. It's very clear the hatred for Mel was not really about her character, but the fact that she got in the way of a gay ship. Nothing like the hate for the female character that gets in the way of everyone's favorite yaoi ship. Sakura, Ochaka, Misa, Mikasa. Now, I think there are two sides that cause this hatred towards these characters. One being that internalized misogyny, and the other is that most of these types of characters are written like absolute garbage and have no personality outside of being the love interest for the main character. They are an object to look pretty next to the main character rather than be important in their own right. Oftentimes in media, male characters will have a much more in-depth story between their friendships among each other with a lot more nuance than their relationships with their supposed love interest. Which of course is why people will ship the male characters together. There is so much more intrigue there than some random chick that follows around the male character. And the issue is that's what it's like in real life. I swear, I have seen some of my closest friends fall for a person they literally just met just because they're hot or they're not wholly repugnant. Dude, I'm just saying, the average person is a little shallow when it comes to attraction. It's not very interesting. But when there is, like, characters of the opposite sex that have an interesting dynamic, they are shipped together, be the dynamic romantic or platonic. So maybe humans in general are really bad at romance. Considering most every relationship I have ever seen among my friends is not good, I'm just convinced allo people are a fucking victim of their own sexuality because they're never happy. It's always Tumblr sexy man and not Tumblr sexy woman, though. It's not a secret the online art community is greatly integrated with media such as comics, games, manga, and anime. That's why I'm using it as an example, but consuming so much of this content has honestly affected how many artists write their own OCs. It's so common to see people so obsessed with their male OCs, their proverbial boys, and to focus so heavily on them and ignore their female characters to some degree. Not that their female characters are non-existent, but they don't get as much attention. It's like artist boy moms or something. Another YouTuber actually conducted a study on the topic, Nefelegy, I think. I don't really know how to pronounce that. I'll link her video in the description, but she took a look at a little over 1,000 Artfight users and their characters and collected data on their OCs. And it turned out 47% of the OCs were all men, 21 was women, and 32 was other. There are more other than women. There was also a massive trend of women OCs having very short bios or bios that were pretty much just them being the sister or mother of another character, often a male character.
Proof is in the pudding. There is a massive focus on male characters, and I think honestly there is something a bit strange about this obsession with femboys and twinks. Characters that are men, but are idealized and praised and fawned over for their traditionally feminine traits. Don't get me wrong, have fun with your OCs, dress them however you want. And, for yourself, do whatever you want. Who cares about gender? Have fun. But doesn't really take away how weird it is that these are praised so highly in the boys, but soon as it's on the girls, it's like non-existent. Like, who cares? Like, hello? It's giving Roman. It's giving Roman emperor won't sleep with his wife because the femboy that's like 14 is too hot. You get what I'm talking about? Like they just hate women. I'm sorry. Maybe not that far, but I've noticed this even with my own posts. I have 3 characters that I post about daily. Volkarn, a man in his 30s to 40s, tall, stoic, and traditionally masculine. Pressus, a winged, horned elf-like thing. They're called Elgviri. She has an outwardly kind demeanor, but as her job is one of necessary evil. And then Tarlach, another Elgviri creature, the horns, the works, who is wholly coy, cynical, and violent. Evil. He's evil. I always get comments about people obsessing over Volkarn and Tarlach, but Pressus is just ignored despite her being like one of the main characters next to Volkarn. And thinking about it deeper, looking at my own writing, I've noticed this trend for a while now, so this isn't new to me. But I quite prefer my male characters, in particular the sad old ones. I will normally have very fleshed out female characters that I tend to relate to a lot, but they are always accompanied by an old dude. When I was 15, I made Freya the Bosmer, a wood elf moving across Skyrim, and then there was Thodrok, the orc running away from his tribe, traveling with her. When I was 19, I made Soso, an unfathomable being, bound to the body of a rabbit controlled by a 40-year-old Georgian woman with daddy issues. And then there was Dr. Hillchurch, her handler, who had a drug issue and crashed his car, killing his family. At 20, I made Ophelia, a less than intelligent vampire who had long since forgotten her memories of humanhood. But the story predating her vampirism was one of a little girl isolated in a manor for her lackluster mental capacity. The next to her was Orlok, the mildly upset, an ex-chieftain with ex-wife problems, and a hatred for dogmatic religions. Now, at the age of 21, I have Pressus, a being hundreds of years old, the herald of the Dreadfather, a piece of the god of depravity, a person who is void of much personality on the basis of her strange physiology. And then Volkarn, a rejected, disabled prince that hates everything around him and is pushing 40, trying to still get his shit together. Do you see a trend here? Do you see a similarity? Now, my female characters are fleshed out, but there is this trend of an older male companion always being beside the female MC. And mind you, most of these examples aren't particularly romantic or were never really explicitly planned to be. Some were to some degree, but it's, I don't know. It's not really ever stated. But it was clear I will sometimes look at my male characters to be the main character instead of the women to tell the story through their eyes, as the viewer is perceiving the female OC detached, not that she isn't a fully fleshed out individual, that she is subjected to some less binary male gaze, to become a manic dream pixie girl, but retaining her very real nuances, that being moral and emotional complexity. But it doesn't change my propensity to make the male character the viewer, stand-in, as a part of me wants to see some aspect of myself in the female character through the eyes of what I value most. Older men. I have daddy issues if that wasn't blatantly obvious. That being said, I won't go into detail, but my father is dead. He died when I was 13, and I had a questionable relationship with him, which made me weirdly obsessed with older men and the way they interacted and experienced the world. I'm Arrowace, so this interest is not actual, more like Freudian penis envy. As you can see in the writing, the relationships between my female OCs and my male OCs are more akin to close friends, and when it pushes more, it's queer platonic relationship type deal. And though my male OCs don't look like me or anyone I've ever known, they tend to have my apathy, spite, and dissociative traits. So just as my female characters may look somewhat like me, my male characters act like me to some degree. There are two wolves inside you. A sexy white-haired girl and a 45-year-old disgusting brown-haired man with a drinking issue. But it doesn't take a PhD in psychology to make the connection my obsession is fueled by my trauma and hatred for the objectification. As in these stories, the viewer, though, is seeing the narrative play out through the eyes of a man, it is still raw and true. My female OCs aren't perfect, they are messy as heck, and the male characters tend to see a part of themselves in her and view her as a full being. Still is greatly telling of my deepest, most animalistic desire to be seen and accepted by the thing that was corrupted, this concept of a father that I never had. Though in my stories, the male character never takes on a father role, I actually find it really disgusting when people interpret it that way because it feels like this is my cope, something unsullied by my experience, and then when that line is drawn by other people, it gets so uncomfortable and disturbing. Like, no. Like, don't remind me. That's gross. The men I write are more so a part of me, not something outside of that. I became my own father. You can call me daddy. Huh? Who said that? In a sense, at least. If you find that weird and disturbing, yeah. Trauma isn't pretty, nor is the way it impacts how you interact with the world. Who knew? The reason I'm telling you all of this is because most people who struggle with this type of misogyny in their own writing are often born as female, and from that were treated so by their family, and growing up, the world treated them that way, no matter what they identify as now, which will just kind of plant the seed of discomfort when it comes to female characters in media, as we all see how women are viewed in our culture, and it often feels sickening to say the least. I want my experience to help others understand their own writing flaws, the origin of why they write what they write, and to help you get a framework to figure out if it's okay or you should reevaluate. I see the misogyny issue as an issue. I think we as artists and writers should think about our part of this and not continue this cycle. But I don't think there is a reason to shame artists, because shame is what created this issue to begin with. The shame of being seen as female because the way our culture views women makes it dreadful to be one. If you notice you have like exclusively male characters, honestly, you should figure out why you are like that. Honestly, because I think that's weird. Is it bad? No, don't feel bad. It's okay. Have fun. But I think a level of introspection is really important to understand, damn, what way am I fucked up in all this? Because we all are to some degree. This is detached from my opinion on people's gender identity. Identify with whatever feels right for you. Love that for you. I'm just saying, the hate for women isn't helping anyone regardless of gender identity, especially those who are forced to be in the body of one. Like, I hate calling myself a woman. I really do. I am one. That's just a fact. But I hate when people are like, what are your pronouns? And ask me about my gender, because it's like, dude, don't remind me. Like, don't remind me that I have less power. Like, don't remind me that I'm like an object of sex to like way too many people I know. Like, I don't want to think about it. Let me know what you think, and feel free to share your experience on this matter down in the comments. I would really love to see your guys' perspectives. Anyway, that's all I have for today, folks. Join the 17+ Discord server to meet a bunch of cool artists and get your art in the next video. If you like my art, consider commissioning me. You got work tomorrow, or school, or complaining that there isn't enough woke meal for my woke breakfast. But as always, don't dream about wheat-based byproducts. Moi, je m'appelle Mademoiselle Noire, et qu'on va pour la voix,